Let's call this meeting to order. Be looking to go into closed session pursuant to 143-318-11A5 to instruct public body staff concerning the position to be taken on behalf of the public body in negotiating the price and other material terms of a proposed acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease, and pursuant to 143-318-11A6 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, and conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee. Do I have a motion to go in closed session?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight, this November the 12th meeting. Do I have a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Come on, Lisa.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank you all for coming out tonight. Does any member of council have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest in regards to any item on the agenda? If so, please state at this time. Pete?
I do not.
John?
No. I do not. I do not.
Charlie?
No, sir.
All right. Moving to next, amendment and approval of the draft agenda. Does any member of council have anything that needs to be added or changed?
No, sir. No. No, sir. Nope.
All right, good. All right. Moving on next, we have a presentation from our Hurricane Helene. We've got two. One of them is unable to be here tonight, which is Mr. and Mrs. Fletcher Frink. They've had another meeting. He sent me a text just when I got here tonight, just said they would not be able to come, so we'll get this to them. But also Mr. and Mr. Gary Massey, Mr. and Mrs. Gary Massey. If y'all will you please come up to the podium here? This is in regards to the work that they done when the storms came through. They organized a bunch of pickup and drops to be taken up to different spots in the mountains. Our citizens, of course, like they always do, stepped up and went above and beyond. But for y'all organizing everything and getting this together, we just have a special thank you for you. Just want to tell you we really appreciate all you do for our community. Just want to present y'all with this. It's just a little token of appreciation for the things that y'all have done for our town and helping getting things together. Thank y'all for everything that you've done. Thank you, sir. Thank y'all so much. If you want to say anything, Gary, just for a second, you're welcome. Yeah, go ahead if you need to.
So my intentions were, I called the mayor about 3 weeks ago wanting to know when the next meeting was, because I was coming to speak in the public comment section about the actually people that actually done the work. So if I can have a couple
Yes, sir.
minutes.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
So on the September 29th, Teresa and I were coming back. We'd been out of town for a couple of weeks, and we were coming back on a Sunday, and the county where I'm at, from Morganton, where we got hit by it. So I told her, I said, I'm gonna drive my pickup truck and you drive the Sequoia, and we'll load up a couple of vehicles and take some supplies back. So coming down the road, we just got thinking about it, and I was talking to Bill, one of the guys I work with, and he said, well, I can get a small enclosed trailer. And I said, okay, we'll do that. And I stopped by and got a little small U-Haul truck. And so we just put it out on social media, our page, Friends of Sunset Beach, Calabash Boys, a couple other places like that we were going to take a few donations up. And so that started the ball rolling. And that was Sunday. Monday, we had two pickup trucks loaded and two enclosed trailers loaded and a U-Haul truck loaded. And then I had a 24-foot car hauler truck loaded and another pickup truck loaded. So within less than 24 hours, all that stuff got loaded. So in a week's time, and I won't go into all of it, we had 10 pickup trucks, 11 enclosed trailers, one U-Haul, two tractor trailers, in less than a week. I had a friend of mine who runs a business in Burke County. He runs a trucking company. He called. He was actually here in Holden Beach. He's got a place here. He had to come here to do work because he didn't have no power or internet, so he's still trying to do work. And he called me up and said, hey, I've got a tractor and trailer. We'll take it over to the pier and we'll let it sit there for a week. And if it gets filled up, we'll take it back. So he brought it there on, I believe, Wednesday, and we filled it up. He may have brought it Tuesday. Days run together. But anyhow, we filled that tractor and trailer up in less than a day. But my special thanks to those that Plumb Right guys, they filled up a couple of things. Lauren Ramsey, that lives here in Sunset Beach, her parents are from Morganton. Their house got completely flooded, the first floor, They lost 2 vehicles. Lauren stayed here and organized everything on the ground for us. Don't know if you know Lauren and Bill Ramsey. Drusy Smith also helped doing that. They kept everything going here. I would come back in town, people say, what do I need to do? And I'm like, I have no idea. I've not been here. And so those, special thank you to them, the Sunset Beach Fire Department. Those guys came out, they loaded trucks, they stored supplies at the fire department for me. Thank you, Chief, for all your hard work with that. The Island Market, Dean and Julie, we used their warehouse. The Turtle Patrol, Carmel and her group, they came out, give us money, volunteered to work. Carolina Border Shields, I don't know if you're familiar with that group. They're all retired law enforcement officers from across the United States. They meet at the VFW down at Calabash. Yep, that's right. They came out, loaded trucks, financial donations. Of course, you mentioned Fletcher and his wife from Dave's Outpost. Fletcher and Lee Hall went into a place on Tuesday. They went as far as they could with that truck and 28-foot car hauler, and they couldn't go no farther, and they hooked a bulldozer to them and drug them across to get back on the road to get to a place to deliver stuff. So those guys done that. Of course, I mentioned Tim Dale. I want to thank him for his 2 tractor and trailers that we filled up. He provided the fuel for that. Fletcher did help do some fuel. Fletcher also took a load of building materials back up into Mitchell County a couple days later. I want to thank Guy C. Lee for their support. The Sea and Sand Band, those guys are local over at Sea Trails. If you book those folks and they charge you, their money goes to, they support different things. They donated some money to this and they come out and help. And of course, all of my employees at the pier, I want to thank them for filling up. And I know there's a whole bunch of other people that I forgot to mention. But we got stuff into Buncombe County, which is Black Mountain, Swannanoa area, into Mitchell County, McDowell County, Avery County, and we actually got a load of stuff into a town in eastern Tennessee that I don't even know the name of. It was on the backside of Beach Mountain, and got stuff in there. But like I say, these folks that I mentioned and the community here are the ones that made all this happen. I just drove a truck. So, thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving on, action, discussion resulting from closed session, no action, just a lot of discussion. General counsel discussion. John, go ahead.
First, I'd like to thank town staff, police department, fire department, DPW, and our events coordinator, Amy, for all their help and flexibility in taking and moving the Veterans Day ceremony yesterday from the park to the fire station because of the predicted rain situation. Fortunately, it cleared up pretty nice, but we were very concerned with having a lot of electronic equipment and all the chairs out there getting wet right before the ceremony and being able to take care of that. So thank you all very much. I'd like to also, as part of that, say thank you to the to the honor guard that was by police department, which Chief Clamers stepped in when Officer Arp was not able to make it, and Sergeant Kevin Long, and firefighters Larry Kramer and Jim Tedesco did a fine job as the honor guard for the ceremony. So thank you very much. It was very much a town and Committee to Honor American Veterans team event. So thank you. Second thing I'd like to do is also in line with the Western North Carolina hurricane and storm recovery operations. Police department had 4 members: Sergeant Brandon Gray, Officer Billy Popst, Sergeant Matthew Harden, and Officer Bill Arp that went up there for about a week at a time. Providing support under not particularly good conditions, doing not particularly pleasant work, helping with the recovery operations. And at the same time, or the second week there, the fire department provided Captain Henry Klutz and firefighter Michael Jackson to go up there.
Neil
and
Jackson.
Pardon? Neil. Sorry. Neil Jackson to provide the support out there. So thank you very much to all the members of your teams and for the representing the town, making us proud. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I've got one. Just there's a quick report on the shoreline protection meetings we do every time we have a meeting. We come back and tell you some of the high points of that. And this involves, as the shoreline protection meeting name says, it's the towns along the Brunswick County shoreline of the Atlantic Ocean that come together and talk about common problems, common concerns, and what we're doing. We had a meeting October 23rd. John and I were there. We went through what I always call the usual agenda. Going through some highlights. We give a report, for example, on the Palm Cove dredging project. But we had there two guests this time. And the two guests were from Total Energies. And Total Energies is along with Duke Energy. They have leased 86 square miles of ocean off the coast of Bald Head Island. And they are going to obviously there with a goal to construct wind turbines to generate wind energy. It's called the Carolina Long Bay Wind Energy Area. And the goal of their visit usually to update us on what's going on. Usually that's their goal. They try to do that. The problem, as we spoke before, and in the past I've brought this up, is that the committee, the Shoreline Committee, emphasizes them continually our concerns. This is an undertaking that is new, and it's new along the Atlantic coast. And there's not a lot of answers to questions that towns have along the coast. Two key concerns that we have. One has to do with tourism. And that simply is the visibility of these wind turbines from the beaches. What is it going to be like? Is it going to hurt tourism? Is it going to help tourism? We don't really know. And what about fishing, obviously, which is a big part of our environment and around here, and it's a key part of our economy. The other part that they often talk about is all the jobs that they're going to create with these turbines. And we've heard positives and negatives about that. Yes, there's a lot of jobs when they build the turbines, but after that, just have to maintain them and all the jobs go away. What's the impact to our economy going to be? And many times when we ask questions, the people visiting us, either from Total Energies or Duke Energies, are vague with answers. And what we try to ask them for also is benefits. What's the benefits to the town? What's the benefits to us in you doing this? So even though the completion of the project is years away, we promise you, and John and I do also, that we're going to keep talking to them and try to get them to understand we need to know how it's going to affect our economies along the beach. And we have told them straight out that even though, as I just said, the projects are way off, we need answers to these questions in order to support these projects or not. So that's what we did basically at the meeting that day. So it was a good meeting, good communication, but we have a lot of questions. So John, you want to add anything else?
Just one point. The lease areas for these wind turbines is supposedly about 22 miles from any land feature. So theoretically, when it comes to the tourist in that, it's out of sight from any of the land spots. And Bald Head Island is the closest places. All this remains to be seen. It kind of depends on how big, how tall these wind turbines actually turn out to be, whether they can be seen that far. Anyway, thank you, Mike.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I have another one. Pete and I spent a morning and visited the groundbreaking ceremony for Beacon Landing. Beacon Landing is located right on Route 179, Seaside Road Southwest. It's in front of Sunset Beach Commons. The Sunset Beach Commons has been there for a while. It sits back. It's a lot in front. And if you've been going up and down the Seaside Road, you've seen the beginning of this project. You've seen the big elevator shafts there. And so many of you have asked, we have been asked a lot of times what's going on there. And what it's going to be a senior living apartments, not assisted living, not memory care. It's going to be a, 108 one-bedroom, two-bedroom senior rental community. It's going to be a new concept of senior living with support. It's going to be run by our Brunswick County Senior Resources, and that's an interesting thing to do. Hasn't been done before. And so they're going to run it. It's an interesting concept. We had the opportunity to talk a little bit and took advantage of the opportunity to wish the developer, wish Brunswick Senior Resources all the best in the future, and hopefully it works out beautifully. But it's going to be a nice new addition to our community. I think it really will be. Pete, you have anything else to say?
Yeah, you explained it, Mike, very succinctly. When Mike mentioned support, it's not like it's step-down care, which is what I'm really looking forward to have in the town here. So that when people, when their lives change and they can no longer take care of their house and they need some support, but they don't have to move away. They can still be with their golf buddies and Marjan partners and things like that. Don't have to move out of the immediate area. The support that they offer is meals can be brought in. You can subscribe to them,
Yes.
and they would support that as a part of your rent. Also, nursing visits, nursing station. So there is some support. It just isn't. It's not like a nursing facility. But Mike and I were both impressed by not only the developer, but how much community involvement that the Brunswick Family Assistance brought into this project. So it was a good day. Thanks, Mike.
Okay.
Anyone else? I just got one. We want to thank the police department for when we had the election cycle, we had so much more traffic in our town going through there. We appreciate the guys being out there trying to keep the traffic going, changing it to one direction. I think that really helped. I thought, as far as I know, we didn't have any accidents or anything, so we kept our town safe. So that's all we can ever ask.
Let me add one more thing.
Go ahead.
Another thing, October 29th, town administrator, town council, the mayor, administrative staff from our town were invited to go over to Sea Trail. Invited to go over to Sea Trail and take a tour of the newly renovated convention center and Jonesburg Clubhouse. We'd like to thank Riptide for inviting us, East Coast Golf, who are running all of that, running all the golf and running all the other things that are going on there, the restaurants and everything. Thank them for inviting us over. We had a nice tour. It's very interesting, very nice concept. It's a really special time, I think, for the rebirth of Sea Trail a little bit. So it was a good thing. We didn't know, plus they gave us some food there, which was also pretty darn good. But we wish them all the best moving forward, and exciting time for our town and exciting time for Sea Trail. So thank you.
Nothing else. We'll move on to the public comments on agenda items only. If anyone would like to make a comment, please step to the mic, come up. On agenda items, please state your name and your address. I'll start the timer. If it gets down to 30 seconds, I'll just give you the thing just so you can tie yourself up.
Good evening. My name is John McClellan, and I'm a retired engineer. Been living on High Market Street for the last 8 years. I'd like to comment on new business item number 2, setting an amendment to set the speed limit to 20 miles per hour throughout the town. I would recommend that the town not implement that as it is currently written. And there's a couple of reasons. And let me give you a little background. Since 84, I've been a road designer and working with municipalities as an advisor to small communities. And both of those categories are reasons for not passing this as it's written. Being an engineer, I'm going to give you a number here. It's the 85th percentile. That's the road speed that people drive comfortably at. And they do that instinctively. If you put a a person on a strange road and turn them loose without their knowing the speed limit, they're going to drive pretty close to that 85th percentile speed. And I'll give you a good example of that. St. James has a really restrictive speed limit, kind of like what you want to implement, but the roads in St. James are very not to specification for any higher speed. They're very narrow. They have postal boxes right up the edge of the pavement. And when I drive through St. James at a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit, I tend to instinctively drive slower than that because it's dangerous. This town wants to put roads that were designed for 45, 55-mile-an-hour speed limits with a 20-mile-per-hour restriction, and people won't do that. They won't do it instinctively. It's going to be tough for the police department to control that, because people coming out of a driveway in the middle of town are going to instinctively see the road ahead and drive pretty rapidly. The second reason that I'll take off my engineer hat and put on my advisor to municipalities, the ordinance that I'm used to, ordinances for the city, usually have a rationale for passing them. Very thin rationale here. Very thin. What you've described is a speed trap. And I'll give you a little background here. There's a precedence for this. There was a small town in Illinois, had about 4 square miles and a few thousand people. Sounds like Sunset Beach. They instituted a speed trap on purpose. So many people complained to the AG that the AG looked into it and said, you can't do this. And not only did he tell them they can't do that, he decommissioned the police department and gave the police powers to an adjoining town. So I just wanted to let you know that. Normally I would talk to the police department if I were working for you to do this, but I haven't talked to the police department. I would recommend that you talk to the police department and see if they kind of agree with what I'm saying. It's going to be a management nightmare slowing people down to 20 miles an hour.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
That's interesting.
You looking for a job?
Anyone else? Agenda items only? If not, we'll look to move on. Consent agenda, Finance Department, September 2024 report, Building Inspection Department, 2024, September 2024 report, Public Works Department, September 2024 report, Code Enforcement / Property Manager, September 2024 report, Fire Department, September 2024 report, and Police Department, September 2024 report. Does any member of council have any questions in regards to any of these?
I've had some questions, but the staff has already answered them
Okay.
for me, so I don't. Oh, yeah, the minutes for the,
I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Yeah.
October the 7th, 2024, first regular meeting minutes also. Does anyone have anything? Go ahead, John.
I
I
have
see you watering.
2 items. You don't need to come up. I just want to point out comments that have come to me from citizens. And so looking to the future, our next meeting, we're going to be talking about, beach and island issues and stuff like that. And one question that I would pose for Chief Claimer to keep in mind for the next meeting is people want to know, is there something that the town can do, police department can do to meet with, coordinate with the golf cart rental agencies to make sure that whenever they do renting to people who are coming to the island, that the customers know what the rules and regulations are as a sort of initial step to try to tighten up golf cart behavior and controls. Sure, answer it now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Not my, not my intent, but you're welcome to do that.
So the question was, what do we do or what can we do to make sure that the rental agencies, when people are renting golf carts, that they understand what the restrictions are, the requirements are in Sunset Beach. So we really put forth an effort prior to the season taking off this year to reach out to all the companies. We developed a trifold that had all of the information in it related to low speed vehicles, the age that the driver has to be, where they can drive the vehicle, that they have to be sober, they have to be licensed, they have to wear a seatbelt, all the rules that they have to follow per the general statute. We gave that to every single rental company. In addition to that, this year, what our plan is I've seen in another municipality, they created stickers and they gave those to the rental companies and put it on the inside on the windshield. So instead of just handing them a pamphlet, they'll get in the cart and they'll see those rules. I don't know if any of you saw the magnets that we made last year. We handed out magnets to all the rental companies to put on the refrigerators of the rentals that talk about all the rules on the beach, including low speed vehicles. So we really tried really hard to get ahead of it. But you'll also hear something in my presentation that I have specifically to focus on golf carts on the island this summer. We'll hear that in December.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
It's good for our citizens to be reminded that you do that. The second question is a request for the fire department. We sort of regularly get concerns over the water pressure in the Sandpiper area. And with that, with the 3,000 or so potential units coming into our fire district in the next several years, there's also a lot of questions as to whether the water system can support the pressure needed to put out a fire in that area. So if at some point in the not too distant future, you could talk about to us and kind of educate us about water pressure system and fire safety that goes on in the community, that'd be appreciated. Okay. And those are not my brainstorms. These are things that our citizens have come forward with and asked about that I couldn't answer. Thank you.
Anything else in regards to the consent agenda?
Yeah, just a quick thing on page 11 of the agenda dealing with the Finance Department September 2024 report. The second paragraph there talks about the monthly tracking. We're talking about accommodations tax here. Monthly tracking is a little off with the implementation of new software as we're working through these challenges and so on. I talked with Lisa today about that report, and the 4%, what they're talking about is currently down. It's currently down 4% for the year to date. It's currently around 4% year to date, I'm sorry. And once these things get worked out, we're looking for more accurate information on the accommodations tax and if it's going up, down, or where it's going. So you had said yes. So anybody that had any questions after they've read that, administration's working on it and hopefully get it straightened out and we'll get a little more accurate information on the accommodations tax.
Right.
So, okay, thank you.
Anything else? Not, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any member of staff that's not got anything left, you're welcome to go home. Appreciate you. Next up's our town administrator report. Go ahead, Ms. Anglin.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll give them a second to vacate the building.
Gary, here's the paper that goes with this. I'm going to give this to you. Not Carrie, I'm sorry. There you go, sir. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Anglin.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to give a quick wrap up on all the events that happened in October. The Jazz in the Park was held on October 20th, was deemed a huge success. I heard nothing but great things about that event that happened that was sort of unique to our area. In the past, we've been more of a beach music concert type, so it was good to see that it was well attended. The Trick or Treat event was held on October 23rd. Thanks to Chief Claymore and his staff and Amy for all the good work that they did to make that a successful event as well. The last summer market was held on October the 31st. All of the vendors deemed the whole summer season a success for them individually, and thank the town for having bringing those summer markets into fruition under the town umbrella, and are hoping that it will continue next year. The holiday market is our last market that we will hold for the year. That is scheduled for Saturday, November the 30th. It will be in the town park from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And Possibility is partnering with the town for that event, and we'll have pet photos with Santa or the Grinch, your choice. And Amy is working on securing beverages, food, and music for that event as well. Just a few things on code enforcement. As we are getting into the fall season and it's time to start cleaning up your yards and putting your leaf and limb out, I would remind you that Ordinance 9301 regulates both unimproved and improved properties, and we would request that you review those regulations on the town website. If you put stuff out and it was missed or passed over, please call town hall to let us know that it was missed, and then review those ordinances as well to see if you're in compliance, or if that may be the reason that it was overlooked. We are currently working through the fall list of properties that remain unmowed. Those are both improved and unimproved properties. For the code enforcement issues that are going on at 429 4th Street, we are continuing to work with the property owner and working through the court system to get those violations cleared. The issue with the property at 938 Oyster Point Drive, the foreclosure sale is occurring tomorrow at the Brunswick County Courthouse. In advance of the December 2nd meeting that you've heard mentioned several times now, I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware that at last month's meeting, the town council did schedule a special meeting for December the 2nd at 3 o'clock. And in that special meeting, we will be reviewing 3 important items going forward. The police and fire department personnel are working on their presentations, including the season's wrap-up of what happened in 24, the good, the bad, the ugly, and recommendations for their upcoming season for the 25 summer season of what they recommend. Amy is working on her presentation of the special events that occurred this season, in addition to the good, bad, and the ugly with those, and her recommendations for moving into the 2025 season. And then Dustin and I are working on the paid parking program as directed by the town council. The RFP soliciting management firms has been released, and we are awaiting those to be back on November the 21st. A current projects list, just to give you an idea of some of the projects that we're working on going into the winter and the fall, spring of next year. We are still continuing to work with the Davies Group on the federal and state agency permitting that will be required for that property to be deemed usable for the Public Works and the Emergency Operations Center on that property. So we're working through that. The Majestic Oak Park, we are currently waiting the grant contract from the state, and once it is executed, we'll be able to move forward with the engineering of the construction plans and the permitting phase for that project. And we received today the executed Part F grant from the state. We are seeking quotes now for the very first thing that we will do on that property, which is to protect the live oak that is out there. So we are seeking quotes to install a protective fence around that tree right now. The parking reconfiguration and the roadway redesign, which is happening on Shoreline Sunset Boulevard North from the Shoreline West intersection to the water, is actually out for bid right now. We are awaiting those, and they're due back on November the 26th. I anticipate this to be on the regular December council meeting for council approval to move that project forward. And then finally, the Palm Cove dredging project that you've heard mentioned tonight, the town did receive, was awarded the shallow draft navigational channel project for that area, totaling $2.9 million. And we are working through the next steps in that process right now. And that's all I have. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any member of council got any questions? Ms. Anglin?
No.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on next to old business. Wind-driven shading devices. About the trial run. Mr. Larkin, you got this one.
Thank you, Mayor. As I'm sure our citizens are aware, there are two sets of rules and regulations, if you will, that the town works under. Our unified development ordinances, which were just recently rewritten. They were quite outdated, and they have been rewritten and approved by town council at the beginning of last year. Those deal with zoning typically, and it's our planning board takes a direct role in those UDO and management of them. We also have what's known as our municipal code, which is something that deals with things like our speed limits that the gentleman referenced here. That's coming up on our agenda. It deals with beach rules. It deals with let's call it non-zoning type regulations. We've made several amendments, text amendments to the municipal code over the last couple of years, and we need to update the municipal code to properly reflect them. Last year we made a substantial edit to our beach rules, particularly involving cabanas and wind-driven shading devices. We are going to discuss tonight as a town council two things. The first thing is there is a section 95.99 which deals with fines and penalties for certain violations. And one of them, we're going to change the word pyrotechnics, or I'm going to make a motion to change the word from pyrotechnics to fireworks, because our 95.13 section is entitled fireworks. Because pyrotechnics are really an event where fireworks are a item or a well, it's an item, it's a thing, and that's one pretty straightforward change. Another change that I'm going to make a motion to do or to follow is over the past season we had a trial period for the positioning on our beach for wind-driven shading devices. And as a part of that whole process, we found out very early on that we were really lacking in definitions for a lot of our various things, items. But we established a definition for wind-driven shading devices. And we agreed as a council to have what we called a trial period. And that trial period shifted a couple of times. But tonight we're going to discuss removing that trial period and accepting, the motion I'm going to make is to accept the use of wind-driven shading devices. And that's not cabanas, it's not tents, it's not other fixed structures. It's simply wind-driven shading devices to be used anywhere on the beach except between 3rd and 29th Street. And the reason that we've labeled that area of 3rd to 29th to be a no wind-driven shading device area is because it is right at the pier. It's on either side, east and west of the pier, and it's extremely congested with even towels and umbrellas. It happens to be the area where the vast majority of our concentrated parking is along Sunset Boulevard, coming into that area. And also the pier has a quite large parking lot there as well. So just in summary, I'm going to, I'll make a motion and then we can have some discussion obviously on it. But I would make a motion that section 95.073I, that we remove the one sentence which says from October 1st, 2023 to July 8th, 2024, an initial trial period for program evaluation by the town be removed from the wind-driven shading device location section. And I guess I can do it in the same motion because we've got it under the same category here, is that under 95.99 fines and penalties, that we change the word under 95.13 from pyrotechnics to fireworks, So it in fact agrees with the section 95.13 in its description.
Motion's on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
All right. Any discussion?
Sure, Lisa.
Go ahead.
I was a prominent voice in opposition to expanding the area to have the wind-driven devices, also known, a lot of them were the shabumis, being put out all over the beach. Over the course of the summer, I watched and observed, and I got a lot of emails back in. And I say the great majority, about 80% of the emails I got, supported keeping the shabumis, the wind-driven devices, anywhere on the beach other than the areas that you mentioned and on the ocean side of the Cabana line. And with that, then the emails primarily supported that, and two, my own observations is that I couldn't come up with a good argument as why not to do that. So I support your amendment.
Thank you, John. And also, I failed to mention that I've had one-on-one discussions with both the police chief and the fire chief, who both are integrally involved in the management of operations on the beach, both from a public safety and beach rescue standpoint and from an ordinance enforcement standpoint. And both of them indicated to me that they wholeheartedly supported maintaining the position of the wind-driven shading devices that we used during the trial period this past summer season.
Any more discussion? Go ahead, Mike.
I'll make a quick comment that just like John said, the overwhelming communication to me was in favor. I was impressed that, as I said once before, that I had a bunch of older people who live on the island just get so excited that the back line now does not have wind-driven devices, and they are able to put up their cabanas. They don't have to fight at 7 o'clock to put up their cabanas, but now they can do it at 10 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, at 8 o'clock in the morning. And they were just excited about having that. One gentleman said, I'm going to put my cabana up again and enjoy the beach for the first time in years. This umbrellas are not as safe, obviously. A lot of people talked about that with me. So I just felt, and my personal observations came next, just being over there, seeing it, talking to people. I think it's a no-brainer moving forward. So Pete, congratulations on the work you did on all that.
Mr. Nerd, you got anything?
I don't have anything. Ready to vote.
All right. We got a motion and a second.
Yes.
We've already had our discussion. So all in favor?
Aye.
There's none opposed.
We're gonna wait for Mike to come.
Nah, he's good. Go with it. All right. Next up, tree board establishment rules, regulations discussion. Ms. Anglin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. What you have before you is a very, very, very rough draft of the tree board establishment and rules and regulations to start the discussion of establishing a tree board and the ordinances and the rules and regulations that'll go along with those. This is a part of Tree City USA that I am completing the application. I have until December the 31st to get that application completed, and this is a component of it. So I'll just open the floor for discussion. None of you all saw any of this in advance, and I apologize for that. And if you just want to take it home and digest it, and we'll talk about it at the December meeting, we can do that as well.
I've got a comment for town staff. I think the proposal is very good. I know we've been working for quite a while. Mr. Farrell with the Environmental Resource Committee has really taken this upon himself and done a good job. And we're not on fire. We're not on fire. Under number 2, if you have that in front of you, Ms. Anglin, the third bullet point down, it says meetings and event requirements. I'd like to see the tree board shall meet approximately once every quarter. I'd hate to hone them in where they have to have a quarterly meeting. And also, I don't know if it really needs to be in the wording of this Tree City USA ordinance for expectations. but I know our ERC already has worked a lot with our tree preservation, with our items in our town park, with Arbor Day, with items that fit right into this category. And I would like to see the experience that our ERC, Environmental Resource Committee, already has established on this topic morph over onto this. I'd like to see, at least at the beginning, a couple of the ERC members take a role in this.
Lisa, in
Yes, sir.
addition to what Peter's saying, do we have any idea about the proposed number of members on the tree board?
All of my research indicated anywhere from 3 to 9 to 11 to it was everywhere. So that's why I didn't pick a number.
Is there a recommendation, or do you think we're going to have town employees as part of the tree board?
You have in here I have called out 2 liaisons to that board, which would be the Deputy Public Works Director and the Events Coordinator, depending on what they were, working on, because the trees and the public trees in the town they're taken care of by the Public Works Department now. So I don't know if they would actually be considered official members of that board or just liaisons to it.
So basically the board will be basically made up of citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Encouraging, because most of the citizens are very concerned about our trees, and putting them involved in this will certainly help the whole issue.
That's a great point, Mike,
Yep.
and we need
Yes,
to
sir.
encourage people to step forward to be part of this. And for people that may think that this is going to be an additional expense to the town, the Tree City USA organization has a requirement that we spend $2 per capita per citizen. I would venture to say we spend a lot more than that already on maintaining trees in the park, on maintaining trees in our town right-of-way, so that I would venture to say this is not going to increase our costs.
Lisa, just a suggestion now. I have some changes and questions also, but why don't we, as council members, take this, work it up, or fill in the blanks as we see fit, get it to you, and we go back and forth a little bit and put this together for the next meeting,
Perfect.
rather than you take the time here to go through sentence by sentence.
Perfect.
Because I think it's a great thing, support it 100%. Have some questions about some of the things on here, but it's something we're going to do. I really believe that.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
All right.
That John, not
That
you.
John,
Thank John.
that one,
Have
that
a
one.
mutual feeling, council. Everything pushed forward to the next meeting.
Yeah,
All right.
yes.
All right. Thank you, Lisa.
Mhm.
Moving on now, finance director position. Ms. Anglin, you have this again in regards to recruiting firm or recruiter firm.
Thanks, Mayor. As I put in the staff report, and I informed the public last month, the position that was filled has been vacated again. So we are currently working with me as the deputy finance director and Tara Nichols continuing in a part-time role to manage that department, which is working beautifully as it has in the past. But we still need a permanent finance director on staff in the office 5 days a week. It is very time consuming, as you all now realize, with the ones that assisted me with all the positions that we hired recently. And I just feel that at this time, it makes a lot of sense to outsource this position. It is a critical position to the town. That the finances are very heavily viewed. They are very important. It's what keeps our tax rate down. It keeps us in line with the local government commission. And that's my recommendation, that we hire this recruiting firm, Global Recruiters Network of Piedmont, to assist us with filling the finance director position.
Excuse me, I got a question.
Sure.
Now, How much involvement has our human resources director been involved in this entire process?
In this recruiter,
Recruiter and
recommendation?
The whole,
I will say 99.5%.
Okay.
It was her recommendation, pretty much out of the gate when the decision was made, to separate from the last finance director. And we talked long and hard about the process that all of you all and I went through with the recent positions that we filled, and the amount of time and effort that we all put in to that. And she has used these firms in the past in her private sector position with 99% approval rating.
Can I
Sure.
comment on that? So does that mean the mutual associate that's listed in here is our HR director?
Yes.
Okay. That would have clarified things earlier in the
Sorry.
beginning. And then
We talked
the second part of that is the 15 years working relationship. Was that employed in the same firm or with a organization that hired that firm? What was the nature of the working relationship?
That was her private sector position in which she utilized this firm to hire.
They
Yes.
were a customer, you know.
Yes.
Okay, good. I have a couple other questions about this, but that answered that particular side of it.
I've got some, thank you, John. I've got some, I know that this, we'll call it a quote, that came through from Global Recruiters Network of Piedmont. I've got some suggestions about the wording of it. It obviously is their document, so they authored it. I'd like some changes to be made to it and then negotiated, but I'll get those to you. I don't know how you want to work that. It was easier than adding the one word approximately, so I didn't want to go through it here, but
I just one comment. It's just the position of finance director is a very difficult position to fill. There's not a lot of finance directors out there. The certifications you must have in order to do that takes a lot of time. And as she stated, as Lisa stated here in North Carolina, the finance director is held personally liable for finance that are in charge of, therefore making the position difficult to fill with qualified individuals. You're personally liable. So we got to get some help in doing this, is what it came right down to. And I support going out there and attempting to use this company. Anyway.
So do I. I've got a couple more questions.
Go ahead.
Do you have a question, Charlie?
yeah, we need a finance director. And certainly all those interviews we went through to hire our last finance director and didn't work out. I do want to say thank God for Tara. She's always been willing to help out. She straightened out any mistakes that were made, and we're ready for the audit. So I'm completely for this. Part of the one, oh, John.
Go ahead.
I was going to say part of the reason I think we need to hire, and I'm sure we'll all agree, a search firm, is that they can dig into a lot deeper into the information on any particular candidate than we are allowed to do, and they will be able to help us. And like they said, there's not a lot of finance directors in North Carolina.
That's correct.
Go ahead, Jim.
So
we
a couple
were
more.
real blessed that Tara was one of the few that are actually certified in the state.
how do we put this down? Do we?
Can I ask a couple questions first?
Okay.
Before
Well, I thought you were done.
No, not quite. I was
Go ahead.
waiting for part two while I caught my breath. The cost in there is identified as 25% of the annual salary that the person gets hired at. And that would be the cost to us. Is that an industry standard, or is that if we went out to a bunch of other firms, would we probably could be looking at something along those lines?
Between 25 and 35% is the going rate.
Okay. So that's.
So I
fairly standard.
negotiated it
Yeah.
down to the 25.
The concern I have with this is that they make a good guarantee that if the candidate is terminated for any reason other than lack of work or company restructuring before the 90th calendar day of the start date, the recruiters will remedy and find a replacement. But then the next line, it says we have to give them 30 days notice before they do that. That means less than 60 days into the job, we have to determine whether the person is a suitable fit to us, whether the person is capable of handling all the requirements. 60 days is pretty quick.
John,
They
does-
talk about 90 days.
Does it really say
No,
30 days?
I don't think it says that.
It doesn't. It
It
says
says-
that invoices are due within 30
30
days.
days.
That-
And our
Correct.
terms are net
Okay.
30 days from receipt of invoice.
Yeah.
And
That's
then, Dave, we have,
it's all about payments.
This contract can be terminated
Yeah.
within 30 days of notification. Let me go look at it again. That was. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, that just means that we can all of a sudden just say, we don't want to do it.
Okay, I misunderstood this to mean that we had to give them 30 days notice of terminating
No.
But
to meet that
I
90-day
agree, there's some
period.
wording that needs to
Yeah,
be tweaked
yeah,
in here
yeah.
for sure.
Maybe that's part of something Peter wants to.
It is.
Okay,
It
okay,
is.
good,
Good.
thanks.
Agree.
Other than that, I strongly support the idea of hiring a recruiter.
Thank you.
Just doing that.
What is our base starting salary for a finance director? Is it 85? Is that what
The
we talked
range
about
is
before?
76 to 115. I don't remember the max.
Sounds right.
115.
I don't have it with me.
I don't either.
So virtually $20,000. I'm not against the recruiter thing. I'm just trying to find out the money deal, because at the end of every day, that is the most important thing in this town. We spend. And we got to be accountable for it. I'm not of that, but we're looking at virtually around $20,000 is what we could potentially pay.
20 to 25, based on qualifications.
We've hired 2 department heads historically that have worked out very well for this town using recruiters
Like I said, I ain't against
in the
it. I
last
just want to know
5 years.
the money. At
6,
the end of the
7
day,
years.
the money is the most important thing. We've got to watch our spending, guys. We spend. We don't think about it, and then we're going. I mean, it's going to run out. It ain't a. We don't have a printer back here in the back. Don't shut me off, John. I'm talking. I
I'm
don't
not.
shut you off. You
I'm
just saying,
listening.
okay, but I'm just saying. We just have to think about things like that.
And
That's
that's
all I'm
why
saying.
this position is so crucial, Mayor, is that we
I understand
make
that.
sure that we get the absolute right person that's going to watch every one of those nickels and dimes for us.
But our budget does contain salary for finance director.
Yes, sir.
It does, and we approve that. And it was, before this year, it was the salary that Tara had, which was, I think, over 100,000.
Mhm.
And then the finance director that we didn't keep was in here at $112,000. So that's roughly where the budget is. So while, yes, we have to make sure we have the money and do it, we've got this money allocated for the quality of finance director that we're trying to get.
minus the money we pay Tara for her filling in for the missing finance director.
And plus the money we have
Yeah.
to pay to finance director.
Yeah, but I mean,
Last
you know,
months.
we've started off, you start paying the 1st of July, and there's a cost going through there. This person gets hired, and we pay them starting at the time that they come on till the end of the year in the next budget cycle, you know, and
I don't think there's a person up
Yeah.
here that isn't conscious
Yeah.
of spending.
Mhm.
There's things that we need and there's things that we don't need. It's
The only department head that I know of that, and Susan Parker used the search form, and that's worked out real good. It's Chief Clemmer.
well, we've had 2.
I don't know the other one, Pete, but so all the things we went through, and someone mentioned that they can dig deeper. I think it was Mike. you know, if someone says, please don't contact my current employee, to me, anybody that applied for any position here, that would be the kiss of death for me.
All right, Mayor, how do we move this along?
What's the pleasure of council? Make a motion, and we'll move this along. Because
Well, I've got some I can't do it here in this forum, but I've got some suggestions to the contract that we would write in the wording. And I think
we could move. To go ahead and go with this, and then you could change the contract as you send it in to go with. This is basically just giving approval that we do want to go to some kind of firm.
okay, if that's the way the motion is worded.
So if someone would like to make a motion, then we can.
I'll make a
paperwork
motion that we go to a search firm to replace.
All right. Do I have a second?
With a fee not to exceed 25%?
I'm not gonna, that's part of the contract negotiation. I'm not gonna,
Okay.
I'm not
Do I have a
talking.
second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on next. Proposed ordinance amendment 7107 speed limits, Ms. Ainley.
Thank you, Mayor. And Ken, I'm going to ask you to come on up and help me work through this one, if you will. Ken and I have worked months on this ordinance. And I want to start off by saying that any roads that are currently 45 or 55 within the town limits does not fit within this ordinance, as those are in the state highway system and are mandated by the state. So we're not talking about Sunset Boulevard North. We're not talking about Shoreline Drive West. We're not talking about Seaside Road. Where else? That's it.
Main Street on the
Even
island?
streets that aren't part of the highway system, Park Road, Shoreline Drive. There was perhaps a bit of confusion with the comment at the beginning of the meeting that a town-wide speed limit would take every street inside of Sunset Beach and turn it to 20 miles per hour. That is absolutely not the case. This would be for streets that, unless otherwise posted. So if you get onto a street and there's no sign, I don't know, pick your street.
Can I ask a question that may come to that point? It seems to me that we're not changing the speed limit on any street within the town, except possibly for Magnolia, Live Oak, because I didn't see them listed here.
They are posted though, sir. So,
But they're posted
at 25.
okay.
Can I ask a question?
Well, I
ahead.
want to make sure. Hold on, Mike. I want to make sure I understand that. Because we then go and we itemize very specific streets that are 25 miles an hour.
Or 20?
So there would only be 5 roads in the system that would be different than 20. Clubhouse, Old Point Lane, and Park Road, and Shoreline Drive East. So it's the 4 roads.
So what I'm
Everything else would be 20.
So Magnolia, what's the other street there, Mayor?
Live
We have
Oak,
Live Oak
Dogwood.
and Dogwood. Those are higher than 20 miles an hour now, but they would be 20 miles an hour as I read this, the wording of this ordinance, unless that was not what was contemplated.
I should have taken a better look because I did not see that in the packet. I didn't go down the itemized list.
And
I was
we
not
didn't,
aware
I
that
didn't
we were
put
going
the
to
itemized list in. Those are just
Okay.
the conversations
Then-
that we had,
Okay.
that those were at higher speeds, but that we both felt that those roads should be lower,
Okay.
even though they aren't right this second.
Was that
Got
the
it.
intent to make those 20 miles an hour then? Or was that,
That was my
Mistake.
intent.
I remember our conversation about those roadways. And the majority of the residents back there, I don't think you'll find one resident that would be in opposition of lowering the speed on those streets. We get constant complaints for our presence, for our speed signs to slow people down to the posted 25 mile per hour limit. So if we can reduce it to 20, the hope then is that they'll do 25.
well, those are straight roads, basically. So
Correct.
I think they would tend to, the 85 rule, I think they would tend to people go faster. on it, but it's residential on both sides. To me, 20 miles an hour would be appropriate in that neighborhood. But Mayor, you live there. What would your personal opinion be?
It don't matter what you post. I see them drive 50 up through there. And I ain't the one that complained about this, Don. I want citizens to think, yeah, but it is bad through there because it's the straightaways. That's what it is. It's just straight shot. And a lot of them, we dealt with it when the election come on. They were just flying through there because people's not familiar with this area. But it's bad. There's a lot of people walk their dogs just like they do everywhere else in our community. And a lot of seniors out there.
Okay, you've answered my question.
There is a lot of pedestrian traffic. There's golf carts, bicycles, people walking their dogs. There's a lot
I've
of
got
foot
one
traffic.
question.
Certainly.
Why do we list the streets that aren't 20 miles an hour if we post them with a speed limit? Clubhouse Road is 25. It's posted as 25. The line is incorrect because it's not all the way to Old Point Road, because it stops short of the bridge because of the turn to go around, and it drops to 20 even before you get to Old Point.
Sure.
So that is an incorrect statement right there. And the other thing is, if it says 25, you shouldn't have to post which roads are 35, whatever. Post 35, that's what people do. Post, but I'm just confused at why we listed.
The council has to approve it. They have to approve the speed for that street. So I'm
okay.
assuming that's
All
why
right.
it's
I
listed
didn't know
in
there
the
was
ordinance.
that particular issue in it because I thought they already had.
Well, we needed to add the word except as specifically listed below so that 1, 2, and 3 under 71.07 would in fact make sense.
Okay.
And that's what led me to the only ones I could find, and I went through all of them in the Muni Code, and every street is listed in the Muni Code, except Old Point Road because it didn't exist when the Muni Code was written. But that's why I asked about Dogwood and Live Oak and Magnolia, because those I knew were posted higher, and I thought the intent was to bring the speed down on those because of resident comments.
And this would post a sign at the entrance of every community, basically saying that that the speed limit is 20 mile an hour, period, unless you see a sign on a road that says otherwise. Is the full intent of what we're trying to do.
And all of the national highway signs, the state roads
Correct.
that we don't own,
Are all going to have
posted
speed limits.
and are excluded from.
And this allows us to take some speed limit signs down. Is that correct?
It does.
And I know people are sign averse, so that I think is a positive.
And this cleans up the ordinance from where we have to, every time you accept the road, we have to go in and make a change to make sure it's in there. Like Old Point's not in there right now. They can't enforce the speed limit on Old Point
Because it doesn't exist.
because
in the
we don't have an ordinance that
When we
calls it out.
get the Logan track brought into the town, this will suffice for them too.
Absolutely.
Except for the piece that is part of Ocean Isle, right?
Well, that's in the ETJ. It's
Yeah.
not in our area.
Well, it will be July 1.
Well, the 13 homes.
Yeah, they're not part of us.
But in
Yes,
essence,
they
you can install one sign
yeah, they
at the
will.
entrance or however many entrances they have into their subdivision, and it
That's
covers
it.
every street in there.
One of the things, I'd like your comment because I think it falls into suit in here. You and I have had very brief conversations about the warning sign that you have, signs maybe that you have now that are battery operated
Mhm.
that don't really do much except warn people that they're going too fast. And I think you told me that they cost like $4,000 or $5,000.
They do.
I think they are spectacular, and I think as the gentleman said, we'll call it the 85% rule. I'm an engineer, but I've never heard that before, but I love it. I think people, I'm going too fast, and that's what we need to have as a reminder, particularly even when we get close to our homes because we're familiar with the roads. But I'd love to see more of those
Sure.
in the police budget.
The 85th percentile is actually in general statute. They talk about when they want to change a speed on a state highway. They
Okay.
follow that 85th percentile rule. You mentioned that sign doesn't do a lot. It actually does a lot.
Okay.
In addition to what you see visually, it tracks a lot of statistics in that little box. It'll give us traffic counts. It'll give us peak speeds. It'll give us average speeds. So it does much more than that great big sign that we have that can also track speed, that can measure speed.
Okay.
That one doesn't have the intelligence in it, inside of it to give us all the numbers, all the data, where this one does. We just drive up to it, connect through it, connect with Bluetooth, and it just downloads right onto our
That's
computer.
cool.
It's really neat.
Mr.
So
Mayor?
you'll likely
Yes.
see more of those
You got-
requests for budget
Go
time.
ahead.
I have a motion.
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the proposed amendment to Town Ordinance 71.07 speed limit.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
I would just like to see the one thing that says except as specifically listed below, because that 1, 2, and 3 below that specifically lists streets is not,
That's a good point.
it doesn't make it clear.
Very good
You
point.
familiar with that?
She's
Right,
changing
right
it
at
right
the end
now.
of there.
All in favor?
Right
Aye.
along the streets,
Any opposed?
except as otherwise
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
listed
Thanks.
below.
Ken.
Except as specifically listed below.
Next up is term expiration to planning board. Ms. England.
Thanks, Mayor. 2 seconds. This is just housekeeping. We have 2 planning board members that have terms expiring in February 2025. So we're just asking for approval to do our normal, which is to notify the member of their term expiration, advertise the notice, and schedule interviews for you all.
Do you need a motion on
What's
that?
the pleasure of council there?
I'll make a motion to authorize the clerk to notify the current members, to advertise the positions, and schedule interviews with the applicants for the openings on the planning board.
Do I have a second? Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And one quick note on the planning board and the board of adjustment, we are looking for ETJ representatives on both of those boards. We have actually been looking for an ETJ representative on the board of adjustment for several years now. With the thanks of Kimberly and Sendai, in the last week or so, we have sent out over 240 letters to every single improved property within the ETJ, asking for volunteers to come and serve on the planning board and the board of adjustment. So if you know of anybody who lives in the ETJ, asking them to contact us, please, if they're interested.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next up is 2025 annual meeting calendar. Each member of council's had this over the weekend to set their schedules and all. Is there anything that y'all see needs to be addressed right now? This is subject to change according to what goes on during the year, but for the most part, is everybody good here with this?
I'm good with
Yep.
it.
I'm
good.
good.
Therefore, do I have a motion to accept the
So
meeting
moved.
schedule?
You move.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up, our disposition of directives. The Tree City thing was moved to the 12th to date that night. Anything else need to be added or amended here?
I don't think so.
All right. If not, we'll move on. We got public comments on anything that you'd like to. If anyone would like to speak up, welcome to come up to the mic right now. Last call. All right, if there's nothing further, council good. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
No more discussion, right?
Got it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.